Menstrual cycle. The menstrual cycle is a precisely regulated, cyclic physiological process whose primary biological purpose is the preparation of the female reproductive system for potential fertilization and implantation. A standard menstrual cycle is 28 days, though 25 to 35 days is entirely normal. Cycles occurring at intervals shorter than 21 days are classified as polymenorrhagia, and those exceeding 35 days are termed under oligomenorrhea. The menstrual cycle is derived by a hierarchical hormonal axis involving three key structures, which are the hypothalamus, the anterior pituitary gland, and the ovaries, and this is collectively termed the HPO axis, or the hypothalamic pituitary ovarian axis. The primary output of the hypothalamus relevant to reproduction is GnRH, that is gonadotropin releasing hormone, which is a decapeptide, and it is secreted in discrete rhythmic pulses into the hypophyseal portal circulation. The anterior pituitary responds to these GnRH signals by releasing FSH, that is follicle stimulating hormone, and LH, that is luteinizing hormone, and both of these are glycoproteins. So GnRH is a decapeptide and LH and FSH are glycoprotein gonadotropins, which are released into the systemic circulation, and therein they act on the ovaries. The frequency of GnRH pulses dictates whether the pituitary secretes FSH or LH. Low-frequency GnRH pulses stimulate the anterior pituitary to secrete FSH. High-frequency GnRH pulses stimulate the anterior pituitary to secrete LH. The ovaries in turn produce the principal steroid hormones, which are the estradiol and progesterone. These steroids feed back to both the hypothalamus and the pituitary, modulating GnRH pulse frequency and gonadotropin secretion, thus completing a dynamic, self-regulating feedback loop. This HPO axis is not exclusive to women. In men, the analogous system is the HPT axis, or hypothalamic pituitary testicular axis, which operates on the same principles, that is, FSH supports spermatogenesis via Sertoli cells, and LH drives testosterone biosynthesis in the Leydig cells of the testes. So before we walk through the cycle, let's understand the hormones that control it. We saw that FSH is produced in the anterior pituitary in response to slow-frequency GnRH pulses. It stimulates the growth and maturation of ovarian follicles, which are the tiny fluid-filled sacs housing the eggs. FSH receptors are found exclusively on the granulosa cells, which are the cells immediately surrounding the developing egg. FSH also activates a key enzyme called aromatase inside granulosa cells. Aromatase converts androgens, which are the so-called male-type hormones, into estrogen. So without FSH, no estrogen would be made. LH is produced in response to high-frequency GnRH pulses. Its target is a different ovarian cell, the theca cells, which sit just outside the granulosa cells. LH stimulates theca cells to produce androgens, which then diffuse into granulosa cells to be converted into estrogen by FSH that we just saw. So this cooperative mechanism of LH acting on theca cells and FSH acting on granulosa cells, together both of them producing estrogen, this is called the two-cell, two-gonadotropin model. Now estrogen has three naturally occurring forms: estradiol, estrone, estriol. Estradiol is E2, which is the dominant form during reproductive years and also the most potent among the three forms. Estrone E1 is the dominant form after menopause. And estriol E3 is the most abundant form during pregnancy, but it is also the weakest amongst the three forms. In fact, estradiol is approximately 80 times more potent than estriol. Now that estradiol is produced by the granulosa cells of the developing follicle, which we just saw, as well as later by the corpus luteum, the fundamental action of estrogen is cell proliferation. That is, it drives growth. In the uterus, it thickens and rebuilds the lining after each period, sending the signal to grow and replace what was shed. In the cervix, it makes mucus clear, stretchy, and abundant, up to 30 times more than that at the start of the cycle, and this facilitates sperm transit around ovulation. Now let's take a look at progesterone. Progesterone is almost entirely absent in the first half of the cycle. It rises dramatically after ovulation and it is produced by corpus luteum, which is the transformed remnant of the follicle that just released the egg. So what does progesterone do? Progesterone is the maturation and balance hormone. So we saw that the uterine lining is thickened by estrogen. Progesterone further transforms this thickened lining into a secretory receptive environment, which is now ready for embryo implantation. It reduces uterine muscle contractions, which is why low progesterone is linked to more severe menstrual cramps. In the cervix, rising progesterone makes mucus thick and impenetrable, blocking further sperm after ovulation has occurred. So estrogen clears the mucus while progesterone does the opposite, that is, it thickens the mucus in the cervix. Now let's take a look at the follicles where it all begins. Each ovary contains 1 to 2 million primordial follicles at birth, each housing a primary oocyte and a mature egg, arrested in the prophase 1 of meiosis. These follicles remain dormant until puberty. With the onset of puberty, the hypothalamus begins pulsatile GnRH secretion, the pituitary starts releasing FSH and LH, and the ovaries respond. The dormant follicles begin to awaken, and this maturation allows for meiosis 1 to complete, thus forming secondary follicles, which then begin meiosis 2, which will not be completed until fertilization occurs. Antral or Graafian follicle forms as a fluid-filled cavity, or the antrum forms, which is visible on the ultrasound as a small cyst on the ovaries. The first period, the menarche, usually follows within 1 to 2 years of the onset of puberty after some early anovulatory cycles. Once the menstrual cycle establishes, the ovarian reserve begins to be drawn upon. With every cycle, approximately 1,000 follicles begin the maturation process. Of these, only 1 or sometimes 2 will fully mature and ovulate. The rest undergo atresia via programmed cell death. This is why the ovarian reserve depletes progressively across the reproductive lifespan, eventually leading to menopause, typically between 45 and 55 years of age, when follicular activity ceases entirely. Circling back to the menstrual cycle phase by phase, so the menstrual cycle can be broadly studied under ovarian cycle and uterine cycle. Ovarian cycle has 2 main phases, follicular and luteal phase, while the uterine cycle has 2 distinct phases, the proliferative and the secretory phase. For the now, we will focus on the ovarian phases. The luteal phase is remarkably constant at 14 days in all women. It is the follicular phase that varies, ranging from 10 to 16 days, accounting for most of the variation in cycle length. Day 1 to 5 is the phase of menstruation. Day 1 marks the start of menstrual bleeding. It follows regression of the corpus luteum, causing a sharp fall in progesterone and estrogen. This triggers constriction of the spiral arterioles, endometrial ischemia, prostaglandin release, and shedding of the superficial endometrium. Menstrual flow usually lasts 4 to 6 days with an average blood loss of about 30 ml, and greater than 80 ml is considered abnormal. Next is the follicular phase from days 1 to 13. At the start of the cycle, FSH rises and recruits a group of ovarian follicles. These follicles produce estradiol. The dominant follicle actively suppresses its competitors by producing large quantities of estradiol and inhibin B. It grows rapidly, typically reaching 15 mm or more in diameter by the time of ovulation. As the dominant follicle grows, estradiol levels rise steadily. Estrogen signals the uterus to begin rebuilding the endometrium, thickening it from about 0.5 to 5 mm. The glands are narrow tubular. This is the proliferative endometrium. As estradiol rises, the endometrium proliferates and the cervical mucus becomes clear and stretchy. FSH gradually falls by negative feedback while LH begins to rise toward mid-cycle. Days 13 to 14 is when ovulation occurs. When estradiol exceeds approximately 200 picogram per ml and remains high for about 50 hours, it switches to positive feedback and triggers the LH surge. The LH surge begins about 36 hours before ovulation and peaks 10 to 12 hours before it. It causes follicular rupture, release of the oocyte, and luteinization of follicle. Lutein basically means a yellow pigment. A key point to note here is that NSAIDs can interfere with prostaglandins and block follicular rupture. The fourth phase is the luteal phase between days 14 to 28. After the egg is released, the collapsed follicle is transformed. The remaining granulosa cells enlarge, accumulate yellow pigment called lutein, and combine with thicker lutein cells to form the corpus luteum, which is a transient but highly active endocrine gland. It secretes progesterone with a small secondary rise in estradiol, and progesterone peaks about 5 to 7 days after ovulation. Progesterone transforms the endometrium into a secretory lining ready for implantation. If pregnancy does not occur, the corpus luteum regresses, hormone levels fall, and the next menstruation begins. While if pregnancy occurs, then HCG, that is human chorionic gonadotropin, rescues the corpus luteum and maintains progesterone production.